So, you want to learn Japanese, but you don't know how. That's why I made this guide for you, the full no bullshit guide to learning Japanese, where I've distilled all my knowledge about Japanese learning. This guide will save you from making the mistakes that I made myself, that made me waste a lot of time, money, and it will save you from learning unnecessary and unnatural stuff that will make you sound like a textbook. And the Japanese learning methods that you will learn in this guide are the methods that I use today to learn Japanese. So let's get straight into the guide. And by the way, my name is Tomek, I'm from Poland, and I've spent the last few years learning languages like Japanese and Spanish. I also made videos about languages and about self-improvement, so if you're interested in that, go down below and click on the subscribe button right now, you'll see more of my videos. In the beginnings, you will need to get a quick grasp of the language, that is by learning Hiragana and Katakana. Those two writing systems used in Japanese are both very important and you need to learn them if you want to study Japanese at all. First one, Hiragana, are these smooth curvy symbols that are generally used to write Japanese words, and Katakana, which are the more straight line and spiky or sharp ones. Those are used writing words that come from a different language, for example from English, like ice cream, and you'll want to learn those two ways. You'll learn those writing them over and over again, which is in my opinion a quicker way and a more effective one. Just get a piece of paper and write those symbols over and over again until you memorize them. But a more fun approach is learning it from anime. You should watch anime with Japanese subtitles, look at characters which appear. You will also hear the audio, which will be helpful for you to distinguish which character makes which sound. From this you will definitely know how to write nya, which are those two characters, ni and small ya right here. Later, after you get a quick grasp of Hiragana and Katakana, you'll need to understand the basics of the language, the basic sentence structures, words that appear. For that, I could recommend to you an app called Renshu. It's much better than Duolingo. Duolingo teaches you a lot of unnecessary and unnatural words, sentences, and Renshu, on the other hand, is like Duolingo on steroids. It has a lot of fun options, some mini games like Shiritori. It has flashcards for remembering words. It teaches you grammar. Like, it's just way more advanced, and I liked it a lot. When it comes to kanji, there is quite a lot of them, but you don't need to memorize all of them, and definitely not at once. You will get a grasp of them throughout your journey, and you'll understand most of Japanese with just a few hundred of the most common ones. I've also made a video on Japanese kanji a few months ago. If you really want to use a textbook for Japanese, I recommend this one. Taekim's Guide to Learning Japanese. You can get an app for iPhone, or you can buy a physical textbook. It's also a non-bullshit textbook. It won't teach you unnatural Japanese. It goes straight to the stuff that you will use IRL, doesn't waste time on unnecessary grammar structures on words. It makes you do the action right away as you start using the textbook. When you finally understand Japanese basic sentence structure, which hopefully you will after using Renshu, you will be able to distinguish basic parts of Japanese, that is nouns, particles, verbs, adjectives, and as soon as you're able to recognize them in a sentence, you can go straight into input. You need to receive as much input as is possible for you to understand how the language sounds, how words and sentences are made. You need to watch a lot of anime, Japanese movies, podcasts, which I really like. While receiving mainly input in the early stages of learning a language is so important, is because it saves you from learning a language incorrectly. saves you from learning the wrong pronunciation, saves you from having an accent, or makes it easier to get rid of it in the future, because you don't learn the incorrect pronunciation that comes from your native language. That's exactly why babies don't have an accent. That's why babies listening to their parents sound exactly like them. It's because throughout their early years of brain development, they receive 99% input. Even if they start speaking already like some simple words like ba 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 ba, mama, they still receive 99% input. And by that, they learn, they imitate their parents, they imitate how other people sound, and they mimic them to sound exactly like them. And that's why they don't have an accent and sound native. Now, finally, after hearing native speakers speak Japanese, you know how to use the pitch accent, you sound a lot better than you would otherwise. You can finally start your output. You can start speaking the language and you won't make that many pronunciation mistakes. There are two ways how you'd generally want to practice Japanese. The first one, the easier one probably, would be through Discord. You could join a Japanese speaking community. You could talk about whatever you like, but it's not the best, and much better option could be finding Japanese people to speak with. Maybe in your city there are some, maybe you could move to Japan, that would be awesome. And when speaking to people, don't worry about making mistakes, they will correct you. You could just ask politely for them to correct any of your mistakes. And it's awesome because you will get instant feedback on your pronunciation mistakes, on your grammar mistakes. You'll get instant feedback from them and you'll hear them talking. That's how people learn a language. And why you need to do output, you can't just watch anime, you can't just read manga or listen to podcasts. Why you need to start speaking is because that's the objective of speaking a language. You will feel so great when you finally get a sentence structure correctly, you will feel amazing when people understand you, and you'll finally do the stuff that you wanted to do when you start learning Japanese. And now when it comes to writing practice, when it finally comes to the probably difficult part, because you have to sit down, get that pen and paper, hopefully it's better to write on paper with a pen than on your computer. There are a few great ways to learn Japanese by writing. First one, which I really like and I use regularly, is I get a piece of Japanese source. That could be a Japanese text, that could be a piece of Japanese podcast with a transcript, some Japanese sentences from anime, or what I do the most is I did a song that I like. I really like Zutomayo songs, and what I do, I look up a translation of the whole song with Romaji transcript. Romaji is the romanization Japanese alphabet written with Latin letters. I sit down, look at the sentences, listen, the most importantly, listen to the pronunciation, how it sounds, so I don't remember it wrong. I repeat, simultaneously learning the song lyrics. I try to understand the sentences, look up some words if I need to see the context. I write on the song lyrics on the one side, and on the other side I translate it to my native language. I translate it to Polish, and like that I write the whole song. And what's so amazing with this approach is that you learn the whole language in one exercise. You learn grammar, you learn vocabulary, you learn adjective, particles, words. You learn the pronunciation because you listen to the song. You also learn how to write the kanji that appear in the song because you write it on paper. And that's such an awesome way to practice writing. And another great way is by writing a journal in Japanese. Every day or whenever you like, get a notebook, get a pen, and write in it about your day, about the stuff that you're interested in. When you don't know a word, you can just look it up in a dictionary. I like jisho.org, and I also like on my phone Shirabe Jisho. I'll post the link to them in the description. Write it, and with that, you know exactly which words you like, which words for your daily speaking you need to get to know. And it's just a healthy habit to have a journal, talking about your day, writing stuff. Really recommend it.
Good job!
And now you know what to do. This guide will help you a lot if you follow it step by step, and I'm really excited to hear about your progress in Japanese. If you want a written version of this guide with some extra stuff, you can go and follow me on Instagram and DM me the word Japanese. I will send you the version. So get out there and learn some Japanese. 一緒に頑張ろうね。またね。I even got used to my hair after this time. Just how an average Japanese learner looks like.